All right, yo, let's do it. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get into it.
So, welcome to episode 48 of the Grindhouse Podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Cabrera, aka Steady Eddie. The other side is my homie, Chris Martin, aka Critta.
Yo, just real quick before we get into today's episode, as always, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It helps us out a lot. Um, Also, if you want to buy some merch, we have a new merch store. It's grindhouse.store. I'm also wearing the
Yeah.
new version of the hoodie. But yeah, definitely buy some merch. Hopefully, we'll have some merch up there of some of your favorite artists. So yeah, let's get into today's episode.
All right. So, I wanted to start just as a rehash for what we talked about on the last sidebars. So, this will probably be a shorter episode. We're just kind of just freeballing it. We actually had a guest cancel on us. So, we just had to just throw another sidebars in there. But I wanted to recap a conversation we had last week talking about the Hip Hop Tribune and also the merch store thing. I just want to revisit that just so like we have it more in the beginning of the podcast rather than on the last podcast when that was more of like a at the end kind of thing. So just if you haven't heard, if you haven't listened to the last podcast, I talked about this new feature that we're working on our website. And it's essentially, there's only so many guests we can have on the podcast, and there's only so many things that we can cover on the podcast. If you're ever interested at all in like, sending me, forwarding us anything that we think might be worth covering on the podcast, feel free to do that. There's specifically part of our website that we've been focusing on like developing some sort of like a blog type thing, and we figured just because it's the two of us, I'll be writing some blogs, but I also wanted to take it in a different direction and really wanted to focus the blogs coming from artists rather than bloggers writing about artists. That way we get just a different side of the whole blogging thing rather than me just talking about what everybody else is listening to. Take us behind the scenes and let us know what's really happening. And I feel like that's kind of the direction I want the blog to go in, where we're actually getting more insight because the person writing the blog is the artist themselves rather than some blogger who's just listening to the same music everyone is.
Yeah,
um,
and you also might see like obviously like we might write some stuff
yeah,
on stuff on artists and whatnot, but yeah, we want it to be sort of like um basically cultivated by artists or honestly just people in the scene too. If you're interested in writing article, definitely hit us up.
yeah. So you can hit me up at Edwin at grindhouserecordings.com, and just send me whether it's like you have the article already written, whether you want to just pitch me an idea that you have. Just reach out to me and then let's work something out because I'd love to get more artists, especially the ones that like we generally try to interview artists from this area, Lynn, Boston, Brockton, like anywhere in this vicinity or just Massachusetts in general. Every now and then we'll venture out, but like we can't cover all artists and we can't cover like every scene in every state. So every now and then we'll have like somebody from like just another state in their own scene doing something that reach out to us. And because it's not really like our followership is mostly local, so it's just like depending on how good their music is, it's either yes or it's like, or it's probably a no, but sometimes it's we'll see.
Yeah.
But I figured like just having a section of our site that's not really like dependent on any sort of like anything other than content. We can now start getting artists. If you're following us and you're from, I'd like to know if we have any followers from non Massachusetts area. So hit us up if you are, because that would be really cool to know. But just gives an opportunity for everybody, no matter where you're from, to sort of like if you want to hit the Lynn Boston niche and you want to send your work and you're from like Texas or something like that, but you follow us, you know what we do, and you have good music, and you want to just make a post about who you are and whatever it is that you're trying to like write about. It could be anything. It literally could be anything. It could be about your music process. It could be about your life and what that looked like and how you turn to music as something that can really like you can find a path in and follow. It could be anything. But like just allowing that to exist on our website, I feel like just opens the horizons for more artists to just get known out there. So, like I said, Edwin at grindhouserecordings.com if you're interested in blogging, submitting your blog for placement on Groundhouse.store.
Cool. And obviously, I talked a little bit about this last week, um, giving a resource for artists to sell merch. So we, if you're an artist and you want to be able to sell some merch, but you don't have the time or resource to do it, we have a store, obviously, and I want to build stores within Grindhouse. So, if you're interested in doing that, definitely hit me up, hit us up in the DM. Yeah.
Yeah, we currently have. I'll wait to make any sort of official announcement. I hate to announce things before they actually,
Yeah.
are like laid out. But we do have some artists that we're already working with that we're excited to, to release some of their stuff. So be on the lookout because we're definitely, adding more merch to the Grindhouse,
Yeah.
Grindhouse store.
It will definitely be the place to go to get your hip hop merch from
Yeah.
your favorite artists. So, yeah. So looking forward to it.
Cool. So I know you. Let's talk about Suriel real quick because I know you
Yeah.
watched. We both watched the video together.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I can't remember how often we brought up Suriel on the podcast, and I just want to bring him up now because he's been making really good music for a pretty long time now. He dropped a project that I really liked in 2018, Blank Slate, and
Yeah.
we haven't discussed. I mean, just because that was released before we even started the podcast, I haven't had a chance to cover that yet. But that's a really good project. If you don't know Suriel, he's from Lynn. If you haven't listened to Blank Slate yet, go listen to that. It's great. But he recently dropped an EP/short film called "What More Can I Say." And I was actually really impressed with a lot of things in that. But
I love the short film idea. I think that's
yeah,
fucking dope. Um, Not a lot of people do it. I think it should be done more, honestly.
yeah,
But
I agree.
yeah, super cool idea.
I like that not only was it a good idea, but it was executed like in my opinion just perfectly. I
Oh,
thought
for sure.
like I like that it's really like it kind of just takes you behind the scenes a little bit in terms of somebody who's like, just like pensive and in their own, mind about, what they're going through and
Yeah.
I think that the camera work in that video really made me kind of feel engage with that, like I'm kind of like in his shoes kind of feeling what he's feeling. And just the production quality itself, like it looked great, like it just looked like a great video. I love the shots. I love I love the hospital shots also.
Yeah.
And it's based on something that actually happened to him. So I feel like just that level of like realness allows, potential fans, if they don't know who he is, they get to not only do they hear the music, but they actually get to know him a little bit more because he takes us behind the scenes and shows us, who he is and just a little bit about, what it's
Him.
like, to go through what he's been through. So
Yeah.
I love the short film idea and I think he executed it flawlessly.
Yeah. No, I loved it. Do we know who directed it?
I can look it up. But I'm not. Forgot the name off the top of my head. Let me just look it up real quick. Talk away while I'm looking it up.
Um, but so yeah, man, I think it's a really awesome idea, and honestly, his rollout was great too with it. I think I saw that like people they got like packages like with like a shirt and some other stuff in there too. So I feel like the marketing for it was great. I love seeing that sort of guerrilla style marketing. Um, yeah, shout out to his team, him and his team for rolling that out.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's always good. Like a tangible like gift is like I think that like that leaves a like a lasting impression on people and also putting it on a t-shirt and giving it to somebody it's like they're like a walking billboard for your release essentially. So
Yeah. All right, let me jump to the end of this video to see if we get to 1 second. I actually, because I'm remembering now, I actually don't, and hopefully, maybe, possibly, we can get Surya on the podcast and we can talk more about this video and just more about his music in general, but also find out who shot that video, because I don't actually think I see any credits on who shot it and edited it, but we'll get that, because I want to know. That was really well done, and just shout out to whoever did shoot it, because it looked awesome, and it really kind of took us behind the scenes, and you know, like that, you know, 7 days before him performing and opening up at you know, at the Middle East. I thought that was a really cool concept. I'd like to see more of that. I think I've talked to artists about doing more of that stuff, because I feel like, especially with like Lin Hip Hop, there's a lot of like really cool behind the scenes shit that should be recorded and put out there for people to see. And if you can package it up as a rollout, all the more power to you. You know, it doesn't, you know, you can use, you know, real shit like that and you know, push, you know, your record or your EP, you know, and also taking us behind the scenes to get to know, you know, who you are more. You know, it's about the music, obviously, but it's also just about people getting to know who you are. Because the more they get to feel like they know you, I feel like the closer they get to just your music. And so, you know, shout out to Suriel and his team for like just being cognizant of that and you know, playing to that. And I hope that that's kind of a new trend also in you know, just in Lin Hip Hop, where we get more behind the scenes look at shit like that, and more films, like more short films like that, where we can get to know a little bit of the story behind, you know, this song or this rapper and what they went through. So
yeah, definitely dope, and check it out.
So I know you didn't listen to this, but I have to talk about it, because I kid you not, the new Busta Rhymes album is album of the year. I kid you not. I'm convinced. I don't care. I've heard the Benny the Butcher album. I know it's a good album. I know it was considered album of the year before that. Before that, who was before that? Who they say was album of the year? I know. I think maybe they said
Conway the Machine, I would say.
Yeah. They said that was the best album. I agree. It was a really good album. I really liked the Nas album. I thought that was a really good album. Yeah. Just go down the list. I think there's a lot of really good albums. I think Spillage Village, you know, you can throw in there because their album was really good. But the Busta Rhymes album is like,
I didn't even know it dropped.
It is an instant classic. I kid, it is an instant classic. Go listen to it now, because like there's so many, the production value on this album is through the roof. It is absolutely through the roof. It like, there's no way you can sit down and listen to like any of the songs on the album and not want to like bob your head like aggressively.
Yeah,
is that good. I can't even say like, and I've said this a few times for a few other records, but like there's literally so many good songs on this album that like just saying one song it wouldn't do it justice. So I'm just gonna go down the list of songs that really stuck out to me as songs that I've been just like, I've listened to the album probably like 5 times now, and I started listening to it I think Saturday. Damn. It's really good. So just in no particular order, the songs that really stood out to me: Strap Yourself Down. That's like the classic, you know, old school woo-ha Busta Rhymes. And it's like that feeling, but like in a newer sort of like environment, I guess, or just a newer sound to it. So that was fantastic. Strap Yourself Down. Czar, Out of My Mind, the Belle Biv DeVoe remix, I guess, or the sample, like is unreal. And they all transition so well, like from Strap Yourself Down to Czar to Out of My Mind. It's just such great sequencing in an album. The album the sequencing of songs on this album is another thing. Like the song quality itself is through the roof, but also the sequencing and transition from each song is spectacular.
I see Kendrick made it on
Kendrick, that song is definitely one of the best songs on the album. Absolutely. That song is great. Kendrick did like godly Kendrick shit on that song. Like if you listen to it, is amazing. And the beat itself is very I don't know how to describe it. You know, probably I would say like it's like a reflective sort of like heavenly triumphant type of sound. And Kanye's I'm sorry, Kanye has nothing to do with this album. Kendrick he comes in first, and his verse is through the roof fire, like it's crazy. And I thought like, whoa, like Busta was like Busta is hot on this album. Like there's no song on this album that isn't good. There were some songs that I couldn't care for, like didn't care for, like the Megan Thee Stallion song, Megan Thee Stallion. Like I wasn't really feeling that song that well. That's probably one of the few songs that I just really like just skipped. But overall, like every song, Busta was like rapping his ass off. With this song, Kendrick like went first and he just like annihilated it. So I was really curious to see what Busta can do on this track with Kendrick, and just to see just the new God MC and the old God MC who's still at the top of his game. And I couldn't say one washed the other or one was better than the other. I think they both really complement each other well and did something different, but also to a high level on the song. The song I'm talking about is Look Over Your Shoulder, or Look Over Your Shoulder. And there's like a nice little like Michael Jackson sample in there. Very beautiful song. Definitely one of the better songs on the album, but like this album is riddled with amazing songs. Another song that I really liked, and I know a lot of like guys out there with like, who's like who are co-parenting and every now and then like shit just gets like annoying when you have to like pick up your kid and drop off your kid. There's a song for you on this album that like I think is outstanding. And I think of my brother when I think of this song, just because like, I know he's a co-parent and he has to go through some of this shit. But the Best I Can, that song is phenomenal. That song is so it just feels good. I love the concept because it's like something that everybody, especially some people, well, not everybody, I guess, who don't have a kid, but people who have children, I think, will really relate to with this song. That's like a grown folk type of rap song right there.
And Rhapsody is on that record.
And Rhapsody does amazing in that. She annihilates that. Every feature on this, I think, like they pretty much annihilated. There's like not one bad feature, but Rhapsody on this did really, like, she was amazing. And just like where she took her, because there's a concept in this song because they're talking about just like co-parenting. And so like, you get like Rhapsody's perspective, which is like the pain in the ass, like, mom. And then you have, Busta's perspective, which is a dad who's just trying to love his son despite being in a relationship with this crazy woman. So I really like just like the way that they like constructed that whole song. And in the skit leading, the skit that leads to the song is so fire because it's like a conversation between Busta and like his baby mom, and like it's just like the way they like that conversation goes down, which is like both comedic and also like kind of like empowering, because if you're in that situation you can kind of relate to what he's doing and what he's saying, and then just how it leads into the song is so fucking fire. Like there's so many good things to talk about this album. I can talk all day. This album is so fucking good. You gotta listen to it.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, it's
like I said, I didn't even know it dropped. Like I had no idea he had a new record out. So
yeah, Extinction Level Event 2. I don't think I even said the name of the album. Extinction Level Event 2. This is, I would say, I gotta go back. I haven't gone back and listened to Extinction Level Event yet, but I need, now that I've listened to this album enough, I feel like I can now listen to other shit. Because when I love an album, and I know when an album is really good, when I'm like, I no longer listen to any other music besides that album. That's when I know it's an amazing classic album. Like if I don't care to listen to anything else aside from that album and I'm playing it from beginning to end, that is a classic. And that's when I know it's a classic. And I think even on a social media, when I posted it to the Grindhouse page, like it, even like Busta's team is calling it a classic album. So like they're pretty confident that they have a classic. It's, for me, it's instant classic. It's just the production alone, the way, and I got to find out, let me see if there's any production credits on the album. I don't think I was able to see any. But the production, man, it was unreal. It's you're gonna have so much fun listening to it because like the sound is like so crazy. The BPMs is very high, and then Busta mixed with he like goes with the production. So like he uses his voice, and it's a classic Busta. He's using his voice along with the production to really heighten that energy. So fucking good.
Word. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
All right, what else we got?
So what else we talking about?
I feel like I have one more thing to mention.
Oh, what was it?
No, I mean I'm talking about in terms of the topic, because now I've run out of ideas.
Jay Critch.
Yes, that's what I want to talk about. Just because we're light on topics today, and like we didn't expect to have a sidebars. I'm just like we didn't have much topics to talk about, so I figured we get in a nice little world star topic. So Jay Critch, there's like a world star. I say world star, but it's posted everywhere. There's a video of him getting jumped, and it seemed like it was actually a video of him. I think he was doing the jumping at first because he was walking in. He's out with this little swag. He was ready to get some punches in. Like he seemed like
he was like
he was he came in like tall, skinny guy swag, like walking in like this, and then like he starts throwing punches, and then somebody just mollywops him to the side, and then after that, I think it's it was harder for him to kind of, keep his stance, and he kind of went down. But I guess Jay Critch got jumped.
Do we know why? Like all of that happened?
No
idea. No idea. All right.
How would I find out that information?
Because you're in the end, dude. You're on Clubhouse, man.
I get the same information everybody else is getting. He walks in all cocky, looking to get a little like punch in, throws a punch, and then gets jumped. That's all I know.
Well, I didn't know if you heard it on Clubhouse or whatever.
Oh, thank you. Okay, you reminded me.
I know you wanted to talk about it. I want to
transition. Okay, I want to talk about Clubhouse because I got some pluses and minuses of Clubhouse. And I don't think anybody has talked about this yet. So if you don't know what Clubhouse is, if you're in the music industry, you should definitely find out about this app because it's very good for that. Pretty much Clubhouse is like the Twitter of / like, I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's like voice Twitter pretty much, where like as opposed to like writing shit down, you're kind of like in this conference with a bunch of people and everybody's just like talking about a topic. And so there's different rooms you can jump into with different topics. A lot of the rooms that I've jumped, I associate myself because you can follow different people and like depending, I feel like on what you're into, there's rooms for that. So a lot of my rooms are typically like music industry type rooms, understanding different aspects of the music industry, some video production stuff also, but I haven't seen much of that so far. And I want to build that out a little bit more because I'd like to be more of those rooms. But I do have some feedback because I was actually I participated in in one of those conferences, and I also have sat in on some of them as well. So you only can be invited to Clubhouse. It's mad exclusive. It's only, the who's who is invited. I'm just kidding. I don't know how they work it, but like thankfully my boy Damien hooked me up with an invite.
I think it's still in like beta.
So gotcha. Yeah. So thank you, Damien, for the invite. But like pretty much like what I love about the app is I sat in on a room. So there was a few rooms I sat in. Like one of them was like an A&R room where I got to sit in with people who are like in like the music industry, like in working for big labels and independent labels, like well-known independent labels. And they're talking about essentially you're hearing like free career consultation if you're trying to get in the music industry. Because these people are talking about like shit that typically you would have to attend a conference to like find out more about. Like this is not the stuff that like is sitting around the internet somewhere, in an article or in a blog for you to find out. Like this is just shit that like people have a conversation about, and you get to get more insight on like what it's like to work in the music industry as an A&R, as somebody who like pushes records and stuff like that. And I was like, I sat in, and especially when it's a good conversation, it's hard to leave the room, because it's like, oh man, like I want to hear all this. But sometimes like it literally like those rooms can last a long time. So you're like in there for like an hour plus, just like sitting by your phone like this, just like listening to a conversation. Yeah. But the conversations can be very fruitful, and that's like the plus side of it. On the negative side of it, and I've only participated in one room so far, but my feedback on it is like, it depending on the people in that room, the conversations can really like, I guess I'm only speaking on like a video production level. Like the room I was in is like video production related, and it really kind of turned into like, it was supposed to be about the quality of videos to like really kind of get an artist like views, but it then turned into like this like weird like fancy cameras versus like cell phone footage conversation. And it wasn't like what I was hoping the conversation would turn into. Like I pretty much like I remember saying like one comment where it was just like, you can use like a friend who can like just shoot a video for you on your iPhone, but like is that quality better than somebody who's like an experienced filmmaker you know, with like a crew budget, you know, and the ability to do it and also the equipment to do it. And then somebody kind of took offense to the fact that I said like iPhone, shoot a video on the iPhone, and they were like, you know, oh, I shoot amazing shit on the iPhone. I was like, I'm not saying that you can't shoot amazing shit on the iPhone. What I was saying is like, you know, like you got to think about the kind of quality of work you're putting into it. But regardless, the conversation, because it was like there's a lot of people in the room, and you know, you want everybody a chance to talk. Like it just became like a whole quality of like, you know, I think, you know, I felt like they were just kind of shitting on like actual filmmaker, like not actual, I shouldn't say actual filmmaker, but like they were shitting on like people who like take quality video seriously. I wasn't like, that conversation was not like, I don't have enough time in my day to like sit there and have a conversation about why shooting a good video is important to an artist. It's like that should be a no-brainer. But people were literally like, well, the sound needs to be good. Like the video doesn't matter. It's like, no, the sound obviously needs to be good, but the video also is important as well. So just being in that conversation and then like wanting to kind of like leave the room, but you're like main, like, you know,
you kind of started the
yeah, I didn't start it. It was my friend Damien that started, but like, you know, I know after a while, it's just like, all right, I don't know. I'm not enjoying this conversation because like I don't want to have this, like, it's just a conversation like I've had, like it's just a conversation that at some point you get past, because that conversation is like one of the first conversations you have when you start making films is like, oh, I can shoot something on a lower quality camera, it could still be good, of course, but like shooting something of quality, you know, makes shooting a good content better. You know, you want to layer the quality, and so that's one aspect of making good content. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent, but that's pretty much my pros and cons. You can find rooms that you're in that's amazing, you find out great information, and you can find some rooms where like it just, depending on the people there, like the conversations can be, you know, yay or nay. All right, I'm punching in. Totally forgot to talk about Gully Boy. So I actually watched this film this past weekend, called Gully Boy. It's an Indian hip hop film. It's like it's Bollywood hip hop. It's fucking sick. Um, Pretty much the story is very similar, oddly similar to The Process. Shout out to Jake Fay. So if you've seen The Process, like this film is the Indian version of The Process, essentially. So the plot is like you got this like an India itself. I always thought would be a great place for hip hop to marinate and to grow, because I I got the great opportunity to be in India last year. I traveled to India and got to see it for firsthand. The poverty there is insane. Most people are poor, and then you have very little in between, and then you have like super like rich people. So there's a lot of wealth, and then there's a lot of poor, and there's very little in between. You know, kind of like what's happening here in America, only like way worse. And so you know, when I think of a place like that with a large population of impoverished people and disenfranchised people, I think about you know, like hip hop music being like a great you know, soundtrack to that, because that's where hip hop was birthed. That's the sound and the elements that hip hop was birthed in. And so I'm glad to see that Indian hip hop has been growing, and it. I saw this documentary actually last year about uh, you know, gully hip hop in India, and like it was, yeah, it just had started. Like it's still like fairly new hip hop over in India, but they're doing more and more, and people are actually like having like, you know, beatbox, like you know, battles and ciphers, and like they're really kind of getting into the elements of hip hop, which is awesome. But anyway, this movie kind of like is very similar in the process, where you have like this guy who's like, you know, struggling to like, you know, get out of the situation that he was born in, which is like he's, you know, born in this caste system where he's like low on the totem pole. He's like a family of servants. And if you're a family of servants, you're expected to be a servant. You're not expected to rise to be something more than that. And so he has to deal with that dynamic, which I think is a pretty popular slash meaningful message in Indian cinema, is just like that, like, you know, caste system expectations, and you know, trying to get away from that. And that's what this character is going through. He's a you know, he's a servant, I guess. He works like he's a driver. He just works these like jobs where like he's not really respected or looked at like a regular human being. He's looked at as beneath, like a slave almost. And you know, he turns to hip hop as an escape. The movie itself does a really, really good job of like layering all these little subplots that show you the character, the world that the character lives in, the conflict that the character is fighting. You know, some of it is himself, and some of it is the community that he's raised in that expects him to be this way, and how he uses hip hop to escape all that. Phenomenal movie. I really love the movie. I highly recommend checking it out. It's on Amazon Prime. And why I say it's very similar to The Process is like, you know how in like I don't want to give the process away, like the whole film away, but pretty much like there's like a small part of the plot is like Nas is like doing a contest where the winner of this contest opens for Nas, and that like Gully Boy has the same kind of thing where like Nas is doing this contest for like, you know, hip hop in India, whatever like that, and Gully Boy, I don't want to give the ending away, but that's the contest that Gully Boy is trying to get so that he can win this money to be able to like make all his problems go away essentially. But like the movie itself is very heartfelt. I think it really captures the element of the foundation of what hip hop is and where it was birthed from, and uses it and shines it in the lens of Indian culture. So I highly recommend checking out that film.
Cool. I'll definitely have to check that out.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, it's the end of this episode. If you want, buy some merch, like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And yeah, peace.
Peace.